Welcome to Contract Review for December 2023. I'm here with all my friends today, so I appreciate your being here to support the efforts of this committee. I do have friends who have sent messages that I'll communicate as we go through. We're going to dispense with calling the roll. One is a quorum today, and we changed up the scene up here a little bit. Just heads up, we've got 74 contracts submitted this month, and all 74 contracts are on the agenda. One was pulled yesterday, so we'll just go right past that one. We'll try and move quickly as we go through. There were a few of these that we had to play ping pong with more than we absolutely need to, and I'll communicate that as we get to those contracts. So, Madam Clerk, would you call the first?
ADECA.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman.
Afternoon.
Lance Abbott with ADECA's Digital Expansion Division. I've got the first contract listed today with Columbia Telecommunications Corporation. They are an IT engineering firm with over 30 years of experience. We are requesting an amendment and extension for 1 year for continued technical support with our federal broadband grants program with the Treasury Department. This request is for $2.9 million, 95% of which are federal funds. We're also asking to extend this contract for 1 additional year. The original contract was for 2 years and secured under an RFP process. It's set to expire on January the 1st of 2024. It
was originally done October of 2021, the RFP was.
RFP is at the end of 2021. Yes.
Correct.
And the continuation is needed to further federal requirements to foresee the broadband grants program, requirements and deadlines that we currently have, as well as to help facilitate the expansion of broadband through for our unserved and underserved areas of Alabama.
I read everything 3 times that they do. Walk me through, is this PM type work, project management work, or are they actually doing any of the work as contractor? Help me understand what they're doing, please, sir.
They're providing technical review and supports. It is PM work, but it's also, they're implementing a location challenge process with our BE program, engineering broadband analysis. They're assisting us with mapping activities to determine where internet service providers are and where unserved and underserved areas are located.
Mm-hmm. I have a friend today. Welcome, Representative England. We were real lonely up here. Any questions for you on this one, sir? Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Next one. Sorry.
Conservation.
Hi, sorry, I'm Mary Elizabeth Dial. I'm still with ADECA. We've got a second one. Sorry for the confusion. Our second contract for today is for the architecture, design, and engineering services of JMR.
Can you say your name again? I'm so sorry.
Mary Elizabeth Dial.
Okay, thank you.
Contracting for the architectural design, engineering services of JMR&H Architecture.
Mm-hmm. Any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Conservation.
Good afternoon, Chairman Roberts, members of the committee. We have 4 contract amendments today for design professionals for multiple extensive projects throughout our state parks. The first one is with CDG Engineering.
One of our colleagues who's not here has a question about this. It's almost a double of the amount of work and then extension. Some details are needed on that. I'd love to chat further on this one with you after, not today, but next week sometime if we could. So we're going to hold that if that's okay. And Senator Orr would like to be on that conversation.
Yes, sir. We'll be glad to. We have several major projects under that contract, including Oak Mountain, Lake Gunnersville, Brickwood, and 10 water and wastewater projects as well.
Great. All right. Next.
The next one is with Chambliss King Architects.
It'll be the same thing on that. We'll hold that and try and get a call next week.
Okay. The third one is with WAS Design.
And that's a doubling, and so there were a lot of questions about that, and we'll communicate on that next week.
Okay.
And the last one,
JMR plus H architecture.
it was similar there. So we'll hold all 4 of those, and we'll try and arrange a time to have a conversation, hopefully next week.
We'll be glad to do that. And I have a sampling of the projects included if that would be helpful for you now.
Let me get it late. You can leave it here or send
Okay.
it to me. That
Yes,
would
sir.
be great.
We'll be glad to.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you, Chairman Roberts.
Dry Cleaning Trust Fund Board.
Good afternoon, Chairman Roberts, members of the committee, Keith Warren and Jim Massey, member of the board. This is a new contract that was promulgated through the new RFP process. It was published on September the 11th and awarded on the 16th of November. And so you can see there's a reduction through that. And the Dry Cleaning Board reviews submissions to clean up dirty and abandoned dry cleaning sites throughout the state. And so it's a trust fund, and it encompasses both ADEM as well as the Department of Revenue. So,
Any questions on that? Applause on the face, sir. Great job.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Early Childhood Education.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and committee members. My name is Amanda Sanford. I'm with the Department of Early Childhood Education. I have an amended contract for Child Plus software to increase the funding amount by $30,000 and to extend the time through December of 2024. We're required to hold this contract with Child Plus as part of our interagency agreement with the Department of Human Resources to support the Early Head Start Child Care Partnership. The Federal Office of Head Start mandates the tracking, monitoring, and reporting of specific benchmarks and evidence of standards. And Child Plus is the data management tool that we use to provide those modules and reports. This vendor is not currently registered with the Secretary of State's Office to do business in the state of Alabama, but we're working with them to get them registered, and we'll provide that documentation to you guys as soon as we have it.
We will hold that until then. If you have any questions, that front row there can help you out with anything that needs to be done there. But thank you. Get us that when you have it, and we'll let it go.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank y'all.
Education.
Good afternoon, Tina Hammonds with the State Department of Education. We have 21 contracts today. So our first one is with Cognia. That is a state-funded program that is through our federal programs division. It is a new contract that was RFP'd this fall, and it is for a continuous improvement system of support for our online platform.
Any questions? Okay.
The second one is our contract with CLASS, the Council for Leaders in Alabama Schools. This is a tailored school leader program that includes an advanced network of leaders that has been created to serve principals through previous legislation and the new Principals Act this year. We are creating these various different new Principals Institute, Regional Assistant Principals Conferences, Aspiring Leader Academy, and then an educator wellness system, and it's 100% federally funded.
And there's not another vendor in the United States that can do this?
It is my understanding that from the specialized requirements of what is put forward in the Principals Act, tailored also to what the design team chose that they wanted to be able to do with that act, that CLASS is the only association that can provide that to Alabama principals. Yes, sir.
As you know, we have several of these here today on this, and it's just creating heartburn. I was at an event recently and talked to CLASS at length, and I didn't ask them about them being sole source. I figured they had that figured out, but it's creating heartburn for this committee, and this I have several comments from others on this one, but I just still don't understand why they're sole source. So have we ever tried to RFP it?
No, sir. This is the new design team that was created from the new act, and
Yeah.
so It's my understanding that from the language in the statute, from what is being requested to be created, that class already has the principals leadership training for Alabama.
Yep.
And so that is what the design team chose to move forward with for the training under the statute.
Okay. Next.
So third is for our career and technical education group, and it is the Kathleen Haney Consulting Group. This again is also 100% federal funds, and this is the result of a research grant. This group was selected for and is embedded in the federal research grant through our Pathways for Alabama Computer Science Group, which is the PACS. And again, it's $136,000, 100% federally funded.
100% sole source.
Yes, sir, it is. It's my understanding that this has to do with the way that the grant was originated, and I have extensive information from program staff about the fact that the proposal to create and receive the grant funds had to do with having qualified vendors that would be able to produce the product of the grant, so.
Yeah. Any questions, sir? Okay.
Our fourth one is with TASRO, which is the Alabama Association of School Officers, and they are the exclusive group in Alabama that is connected to NASRO, which is the National Association of School Officers, and they have these particular courses for basic school resource officer course, advanced school resource officer course, and the adolescent mental health training courses for our school resource officers, and we are required to have these trainings, and TASRO provides them in Alabama, and it is 100% federally funded.
100% sole source.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Next.
Okay, the fifth one, this is, again, a sole source, and it is with PCG. This is actually a contract that was originally RFP'd. It was solicited in 22 and awarded in 22, spring of 22. And PCG has been developing and delivering key components of a professional development program, including a website and additional platforms for our educators. They were not able to complete it under the period of time that they had and have already created it. The things that have been developed under the contract, they just need to deliver them and train people on them. So this is the sole source contract to complete what was RFP'd in 22 with the company that was chosen. And it's 100% federal funds.
Right, right. Okay.
One more sole source. This is with the Office of Math Improvement. So this is Spark Innovation, which is doing business as Diane Sweeney Consulting. So this is for 4 trainings for the district leaders and for various other professional development here in state. It is specialized training for the Office of Math Improvement based on the requirements of the Numeracy Act. And this is an in-demand pioneer and leader in her field that has been chosen to come in and do specific training for the types of professional development that are going to be needed and required under our Numeracy Act. And this is a national speaker that has been identified that can come in and provide the training that is needed for the specific needs of the Office of Math Improvement.
All right, any questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay, and so I have 15 more that are under an RFP that was solicited 6/29 of 23, was awarded 8/15 of 23, and they are of 3 different categories. So if it would be okay for me to batch them in the 3 categories, I will, but if you'll just let me know what you'd like.
I will tell you this, I had some questions from others on functioning as both hearing officer and mediator, and I made a phone call last night to one of these and asked, they'd never be on the same case. I want to make sure I was getting accurate information there. Yeah.
It's my understanding that under the IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, we have these cases that come forward and they can be progressed in 3 different ways. And so the people handle the 3 different types of progression, but in various different cases.
That's what I was told last night. And
Yes, sir.
there are different lists that contain all these 3 sets of skill sets that do this. And
Yes, sir.
I got a very detailed report. I learned a lot on that conversation. So, okay.
So we have 3 we have 5 hearing officers, 3 different categories, 5 hearing officers, and we have 5 mediators, and we have 5 IEP meeting facilitators. They were all awarded under the RFP that was released this fall, and it will be federal funds, and it is for our, well, let's see, I think the meeting facilitators have some state funds. I think maybe this chart's wrong. It should be all federal funding, and so it's the 3 different types. The hearing officers will conduct the due process hearings. The mediators will conduct mediations under the IDEA and resolve disputes between families and local education agencies regarding special education. And the meeting facilitators will facilitate the individualized education program meetings. The IEP meeting facilitation is a proactive option designed to informally resolve disputes between families and education agencies.
Is an hourly rate applicable here, or they're just on a state per diem? That was the other. I was asked is there a rate, and if so, it should be on the sheet, but I don't know. How does that work?
It is my understanding that I believe on the hearing officer side, there is a cap for a completed case, so it is not per hour. It is to complete a case to actually adjudication.
Would that be in the cap so the cap is the number we're looking at here, do you believe?
No, sir, that would be the cap that they would have for the entire pendency of the contract that they've received, and then they receive cases regularly on a rotational basis.
That would have a cap on
That would have a
one of
cap
those
on each
cases
case
in
so
addition
that-
to this?
Right,
Are
and
those
so-
federal funds or state?
It's all federal. It's all federal. My understanding is that's all federal. Now, I am not sure about the ones that facilitate the meetings.
Right.
And then the mediation may be different. The hearing officers, I'm sure that like there is an hourly, but it's capped, and then you have to complete the case because they all have to come to completion. Some may take no time at all. Some may go on for quite some time. So it's a lot like a court docket.
And then the legal fees that are associated with the plaintiffs in some of these cases, that's in addition, and where is that paid, at the local level?
It depends on the exact allocations, the allegations that are moving forward and what the parties are at that moment in the pendency of the case. It's my understanding that some would be local, and I believe some might be state plus local, but the plaintiff payment is definitely a different pot, and that is the retention by the plaintiff of what they're wanting to move forward for. So
Which pot does that come out of?
I can find out for you.
I'm not going to hold it. I just
Yes, sir.
was interested.
Sure.
Okay, I had similar type questions on 9, 10, but we've addressed them.
They're batched, so it'd be 5 of each, and so any questions you have would apply to all 5 in each of the 3 categories.
Thanks for bearing with me on this. This is a whole different area, and it's fascinating when you understand the skill set that's involved with it too. Was interesting. So
There are some very specialized requirements that the
Yeah.
schools and the state are under due to federal law, and so all of this walks in hand with that as well. So.
okay, so we're through the top of 15. Thank you very much, and I would like to get that information.
Yes, sir.
when you have time.
It's actually it is a concerning thing due to the amount of monies that are being expended for the plaintiff side plus
That's
the
what I didn't
adjudication.
understand until that phone call. And
Right. It is a concern of the departments and of council at the department, and
it
so
seems to be growing.
that is correct. That is something that we're seeing. We're seeing a trend in it happening more and more cases, and possibly more financial incentive to bring cases. And so I'm just not sure where
That was my observation.
money comes from, but I will find out for you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Emergency management.
Good afternoon, Nanny Reed. We just have one contract here, and it's an amendment. It's just for our contract with CC in Litchfield, which is an interior design contract. We're asking for an additional $50,000 under that contract and just an amendment on the time to complete that work.
Any questions? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Environmental management.
Page 16.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members. I'm Russell Kelly with the Department of Environmental Management. We have one contract. This contract is for analytical services to test for PFAS constituents. This previous year, EPA has mandated that our wastewater discharges to be tested for PFAS. And so in following suit, our laboratories are not set up at this point to do that. Equipment's somewhat over $500,000, and you'd have to add new laboratory personnel. So we're gonna contract this out. Our wishes are for the first year, maybe further, but then we'll assess that at the end of the year and determine whether it's financially beneficial for the state to invest in that and analyze that along with the other analysis that we do.
Any questions? Thanks, Russ.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members.
Examiners in psychology.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
I'm Angie Ledbetter with the Board of Examiners in Psychology. Thank you guys for your time today. The board wishes to enter into a new contract for professional services with Dr. Michael Garver. This new contract is necessary so that Dr. Garver may continue to manage the board's psychology professionals wellness and monitoring program for licensees. Dr. Garver is an Alabama entity. The board first established a contract for these services with Dr. Garver in 2015 via the RFP process. Since then, the CPO has identified and continues to approve Dr. Garver as a sole source provider. His monitoring services are unique and affordable for the board, which is a fee-based agency. The board enacted its wellness and monitoring program into law in 2021, so it's imperative that Dr. Garver be able to continue these established services. Because the contract procurement policies have changed recently, the board will perform RFP process during Dr. Garver's term on this contract to ensure that other Alabama entities have the opportunity to offer monitoring services, and so the CPO also will see that Dr. Garver is still a sole source provider.
Okay. Any questions? And the services are paid for through license fees paid by others, right?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
All right, any questions? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Finance.
Good afternoon. I'm Darrell Masters, Department of Finance, Division of Risk Management. We have one contract today. It is with Genetic Services, and it is for CTIFs, which is the state workers' comp equivalent for the professional case management and vocational case management and consultation services that they use this company for. It's a new contract.
Any questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Flexible Employees Benefits Board.
Good afternoon. I'm Sally Corley, representing the Flexible Employees Benefits Board. We have two contracts before you today. The first one is with Connect Your Care, also known as Optum Financial. This is the contract for the flexible benefit that we offer to all state employees. And I want to apologize in advance. I recognize that we put a couple of acronyms on the cover sheet.
If you could help on that, that would be great.
Be very glad to. So through the Flex program, we offer two benefits. One is the HCRA, that is the healthcare reimbursement account, and then the DCRA, which is the dependent care reimbursement account. So state employees have two options. They can have a Flex account to pay for all of their co-pays and deductibles, their healthcare costs. That's the HCRA, and the DCRA is for dependent care, like after-school care, summer camps, et cetera.
Any questions? Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, our second contract is with CompuSys ERISA. This company administers the voluntary insurance programs. So state employees these are the companies that have payroll slots. This company bills them directly and manages all the payments that come from state employees, premiums, and then go straight to the companies. Like voluntary insurance programs would be something like maybe AFLAC or a long-term care policy, something other than what our agency administers.
And so these are paid for by the employee portion of premiums,
Yes,
correct?
sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Any questions? Thanks, Sally.
Yeah, thank you.
Forensic Sciences.
Good afternoon, Senator Roberts, Representative England. I'm Angelo Dallamano with the Department of Forensic Sciences. We have one contract for you today from Forensic Pathology Staffing to allow us to bring in on an as-needed basis additional board-certified forensic pathologists to help with the increasing autopsy caseload throughout the state.
Okay, who are these for? Help me understand that.
So we have 3 medical morgue facilities throughout the state located in Huntsville, Montgomery, and Mobile. And then the other board-certified forensic pathologists that are currently in medical examiners' offices in other states come to Alabama and then perform autopsies for us once they're licensed in Alabama on an as-needed basis in one of those 3 facilities.
And these are for where criminal justice is involved?
Correct. It's only on pending criminal investigations. So we've had a pretty significant increase in not just the number of homicides that are coming through the morgue system, but also the accidental drug overdoses. And so when we don't have enough medical examiners and we have increasing caseload, it becomes our primary purpose to turn around those cases and release the decedents back to the family so they can proceed with their funeral arrangements, et cetera. And so these are only the forensic autopsies on pending criminal cases, are what we're discussing.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Senator.
Genetic Counseling Board.
Good afternoon again, Senator Roberts, Representative England. Genetic Counseling Board, the chair, Fallon Brewer, has a death in the family. She's unable to be here. And so they extend their apologies for that. This contract was, the RFP was published of August the 29th, and it was awarded on 9/20/23. There's just a 20% increase. One of the things, 2 things to highlight is they originally thought they were going to have about 65 to 70 licensees, and they have 327. With the accumulated fund balance, they have recently promulgated a rule to extend the licensing renewal period from 1 year to 2 year, hence reducing
That's logical.
the license fee by 50%. And so
Say that again. You have 300?
we have 327 genetic counselors, not all in Alabama. We even have some that reside outside the United States that practice throughout the United States, particularly with UAB in Birmingham.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a question. This was something that we enacted this bill legislatively in May of 19 and passed it and set it up. Walk me through what they're doing and what are we doing with the genetic counseling? Where's that in play? And they're doing that for individualized medicine or?
In genetic testing with research and stuff at UAB and throughout the state. There are a lot of medical agencies that are affiliated with all the hospitals through the state with DNA testing. They're very, very educated, and it's a lot to explain. I mean, I'm not a genetic counselor, so I wish I had one of my board members to explain exactly what they do. But most of them are on staff at UAB. And then they have physicians and other genetic counselors that practice across the state lines, but electronically and not necessarily in the state of Alabama.
We're doing the genomics building there at UAB, as you know, and then SRI is doing what they're doing, also working together with Hudson Alpha. So not just human, but then Hudson Alpha adds the plant genomics. And we have a member that has some heartburn about the increasing cost, so we're going to hold it. I would love to hear more about this offline. Had nothing to do with contract review. I'm fascinated by this.
Absolutely.
I think as we see what genetic medicine is doing, and then the individualization of medicine is where I think we're going quickly, and I bet Sally Corley could address that and others.
Sure.
Where I think we will be in our lifetime is going to be fascinating to see. So if you,
I will ask several of them to reach out to you since.
I'd love to meet with them in Birmingham. That would be great.
Absolutely.
But I think understanding whatever the anticipated 30 to 50 that you were thinking in this if we can have a conversation.
Sure.
Hopefully soon, and we'll do that, but we'll hold this until then for another member.
Great. Thank you, sir.
All right? Thanks, sir.
Historical Commission.
Good afternoon. I'm Eleanor Cunningham with the Historical Commission. We have one contract. It is a no-cost time extension for a floor preservation consulting.
This was RFP'd in October of 2020 and awarded in December of 2020. Thoughts on RFPing again, or are we just extending it so we're not RFPing it?
No, it should it will be extended until the project can be completed, and then it would not be RFP'd again.
Do you think that's before the end of 24?
It should be, yes.
Okay. All right, any other questions? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Interpreters and Transliterators Board.
Good afternoon again. Senator Roberts, Representative England. I'm Keith Warren, and this is Melvin Walker, who is on the board of Interpreters and Transliterators. They've been in existence for quite some time, and they regulate and license interpreters and transliterators for the deaf. Mr. Walker can add some additional information. They've bounced around several times, especially with their expenditures and the revenue, and so they are back now with a plush fund balance. And because of the previous 5 years of the contract amount and taking them back as a managed board. And so we have a new project regarding videos on how to complete applications, file a complaint, and all of that for the deaf community to better serve those and operate in what they need to do in communicating with the board office. But Mr. Walker's here for any questions.
All right, I've got one for him. I've got one for you. We could never get this paperwork right. We went back and forth. Even the cover sheet's still incorrect, I believe. The contract amount should have been $60,000, $30,000 for 2 years, and we went back and forth with, maybe someone's new in your office, I don't know.
Okay, I'll check into that, yes, sir.
That was a little bit of a frustration for us on that one. Last year it was $20,800 going to $30,000, roughly a 43.39%, just at 2 decimal points there. But so there are some questions about that, but if you would like to address that, you're welcome to, please, sir.
I'll say that for sign language interpreters, it can be very confusing. And so we have bounced around a lot. And at one point, our board was even serving as our own administrator, which I don't recommend to anyone because it did not work out well. But our interpreters in the deaf community, the need for qualified interpreters is very important. And so there's a lot of questions that come through which take up a lot of the board or the administrator's time. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, when we have meetings, we require a very large space to have our meetings because they're visual meetings. Everything is performed in sign language. And so we require bigger space than what the administrator has had. But in his new office, he'll be able to accommodate us. And so we've increased our license cost over the years. From originally, I think we were $50 per person. Now we're up to $175 for license holders. So financially, we're in a much stronger place to pay for the services that we need. We're increasing in the number of complaints that we get, which is actually a good thing because we need the deaf community to let us know when interpreters are not doing the things they need to be doing. And those complaints take time and to process. And so the administrator's office and their investigators have been very helpful in completing that work as well.
So roughly 63% of your license fees are going for management of the board. I assume your board's aware of that.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And help me, that's a good thing is what you're saying?
It is from our perspective because we want to make sure that everyone who is licensed in the state is qualified, and the administrator is making sure that everyone is providing all the certifications, the qualifications needed so that deaf Alabamians are getting the qualified services they needed.
Okay. I've had a member request that be held for just this understanding. If you would be available also, Keith, if you could help
Absolutely.
Make that call happen, I'd love to do that. Thank you very much. And we'll try and do this expeditiously, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Legislative Services.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Representative England. Jimmy Intrican, General Counsel of Legislative Services Agency. We have two contracts before you today, one with David Hale, one with Joanne Hale, and these are for IT consulting services, specifically for the development and rollout of the Link system. These are actually renewal contracts, even though they're in the style of a new contract. And
Any questions on the first one? Okay. Second one, same. Any questions? Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Lieutenant Governor's Office.
Mr. Chairman, Representative England, I'm Jeff Skaggs with the Lieutenant Governor's Office, and we have a renewal before you with Asbel Communications.
And who are you with, the Lieutenant Governor's Office?
Yes, sir, I sure am.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any questions, Representative England? Ask one at least, please. No. I'm not going to bother you today. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Representative
Mr.
England.
Skaggs, thank you for doing a good job.
Medicaid.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Representative England. My name is Alex Caudell on behalf of Alabama Medicaid. We have 3 contracts before you today, 1 new contract and 2 renewals.
I have none about the first one, Representative. You good? Second one, I've got a question. RFP was issued 2019, May of 19, awarded in August of 19. And we're hitting the 5-year mark. Thoughts on when you're going to RFP this again, please, sir?
Should be next year.
Should be
This is
next
the last
year.
option year under this contract.
Can you tell us what I missed that one, sorry. Exactly what do they do?
HMS assists the agency with their third-party division for cost recovery or recovery from third parties. And what that does is offset cost of the agency or recovers expenditures made by the agency.
I've got a senator that would like some more answers on that. If we can, I'm gonna hold this and let's talk hopefully next week, if that's okay with you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Top of page 24.
Yes, sir. This is a renewal for Public Consulting Group, and what they do is perform an independent evaluation of Medicaid's 1115 demonstration waiver.
How are things going with y'all's great reset, if you will? Progress happening there? And
Yes, sir. Specific questions I'd like to defer to my program staff and allow them to give you a full explanation, but I do understand it's going well.
Henry, making progress? I know it's a yeoman's job. I was with legislators from various states last week, and it's a yeoman's job that y'all are doing. Thank you for that effort. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mental health.
Brian Penn, Mental Health. We have 4 contracts. The first one is Omni. It's an amendment. Let's see. We're adding additional funds for a statewide youth substance abuse survey and to finalize the HBCU substance abuse survey reports.
I have no questions. Chris? Okay.
Next
one.
is National Association. It's a new contract. What the contractor does is gathers core data from the 3 facilities in Tuscaloosa and submit reports to the Joint Commission. And this is a requirement by the Joint Commission for us to keep our accreditation.
It's a sole source. And look, I know we just did this in 23 through 25. If we put our thinking cap on, maybe there's others that could do it just for competitive nature of this. I understand, we both know it's 100% state funds, so that would be worth looking into, in my opinion, as we approach 25. Just a thought, sir.
Yes, sir. I'll pass that along. Yes,
I'm
sir.
grateful.
The next is Guidehouse. This is a new contract. The contractor will provide technical assistance to the department, our providers, to meet the SAMHSA grant requirements regarding the implementation, workforce development, and workforce retention of the Certified Community Behavioral Health Clinic program in the state.
Any questions?
Okay, and the last one is Poly Services. It's a new contract. The department has recently established the Office of Child and Family Services, centralizing all services related to children in one place. The contractor will assist the department to organize services and to assist it to leverage federal dollars for child and family services.
Any questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Professional Bail Bonding Board.
Last one, Senator Roberts and Representative England. Professional Bail Bonding Board, I also have Honorable Carla Woodall, who is the board secretary, who's the chief clerk of Houston County with us here today. And so this has been on an emergency contract for several years, and now the RFP has been published on June the 21st, reviewed, evaluated, and awarded on 8/11. And so you can see there were some negotiations down to get to the 27% increase. They have 817 licensees. Their expenditures from last fiscal year, $107,673.55. Revenue, $139,195.95 for a fund balance of $295,000. So I gave an update on all of the previous sunset findings that were reviewed back in the summer and a status, and we've narrowed that down to just two. And that's the employee definition that we will continue to work on, as well as the communication with the licensee. So I have Ms. Woodall here as well for any questions that you might have that I can't answer.
Ms. Woodall, just quick questions. So 60% of total revenue from licensure is spent on management. I know y'all are aware of that. And then a 27% increase here. It causes us heartburn. I've got one senator that would like to hold this to make sure that everyone is fully aware of that. And your thoughts on that?
I think it's important to understand that this board is 4 years old. It's a baby board. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, the first 3 years that we were, 2.5, 3 years we were in operation, we relied heavily on very unsound, inexperienced advice. So when Mr. Warren took over under emergency contract, there was a large number of findings wherein we asked for the audit as the board, begged for the audit. They came in, they found what we figured they would find. Early on, it's hard to ask questions that you don't know what questions to ask. And the first 3 years, that's what we found out. We literally started from scratch with zero money, wrote the rules and regulations from scratch, relying on advice that was not sound. And we realized we had subpar leadership, so we went to experience. Unfortunately, he had to inherit 3 years worth of investigations to resolve. So that takes manpower. That takes that 60%. And it's very important to understand these 817 licensees, they all have stronger arrest power than law enforcement. So they need oversight. They know they need oversight because they came to the legislature and asked for it. Representative England sponsored the bill. So it's been a process. It's been a huge learning curve. And the main thing we realized was the experience needed, and never did we realize the number of investigations that would come forward all over the state. So you've got to go witnesses, you've got to go get records. So it takes the manpower to do it. Mm-hmm. So that is majority of I think it's a 27% increase That is the main purpose of it, as well as to clean up the infractions from 3 years of bad activity.
So you're doing a commercial for Smith Warren today?
I'm doing a, that we've learned a lot.
Truth's your friend and you're giving us the truth.
Yeah, we've learned a lot, and I can tell you that I stood before Sunset and told him I was absolutely embarrassed. This is not how I run my office in Houston County. This is not what I as a clerk am used to experiencing, and I put my reputation on the line for it and realized we needed better leadership to guide us, and went with experience, and sometimes you have to pay for that experience.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Warren. I'm sorry.
And I'm glad that we've worked on a lot of stuff together, and I'm glad that you're involved. Unfortunately, though, I don't think it's just a board problem. The bail bonding industry in Alabama has been in need of reform for a very, very long time.
Correct.
And at times, some of the outsized influence that they have in the legislature has created some blind spots there that they exploit.
Correct.
And I think in this upcoming session, there just needs to be some conversation. Fees haven't gone up in years. There's really no accountability measures that are enforceable in the law. Forfeitures don't happen across the state. So there's really nothing that holds them accountable, which ultimately means that the burden of doing a lot of the responsibility that bail bondsmen are supposed to do fall on the court system.
Correct.
And ultimately, we're put in a catch-22 because, when a basic fundamental responsibility is producing the accused to come to court and they don't, then you say, well, we're going to forfeit. Well, then you'll put us out of business. So we're kind of like, well, what are we going to do now? So I think to make your job a little bit easier, it's probably incumbent upon us as legislators to come up with better regulations of the actors within the industry as well. So that's something that I'm going to start working on, because for years, we kind of gone back and forth on this, and one of the answers was creating the board. But as you can see, the board has kind of struggled, and as a result, the industry continues to kind of skirt a lot of the regulations that we need to have in place. So I think this is something that worked on several years ago, and I think it's time to start going back at it again.
And it's very difficult because you have authority of the board that's under one thing about the licensure and making sure that the public is protected. And then you have another that's the presiding judge of each circuit to ensure that the company is solvent enough for these bonds that they are posting. So it's two different hats by two different groups, and both need some work.
Agree 100%.
So what's your pleasure?
Oh no, we can move on with this, but just as far as actual coming up with standards and regulations of the actors themselves, it's one of the things about our Sunset Board system is that we count on the people who are in the system to regulate themselves, and sometimes there are people in that system who aren't interested in that.
Correct.
So that's where I think guidelines through statutes would assist you in making sure that you gain compliance.
And I will say, not only under the court's authority, that needs some legislation, but one of our issues is the definition of a bondsman. It's one thing to actually go out, put your hands on somebody, put them in custody, sign their bond saying, hey, I'm going to ensure they're coming to court. But also, even the person that answers the phone, and most of this is late at night, after hours, it's not a brick and mortar type situation where somebody comes in. Anybody that answers the phone, they're negotiating bonds. So even those individuals, whether they're the ones that actually go sign it or not, they need to be licensed because they're communicating with the public. So that's been a big issue of who is actually a bondsman, and it's going to have to be resolved legislatively.
So that's why I'm glad that you're involved in, so we can have somebody that's not necessarily in the business helping to kind of figure out how to run the business. So, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, my thoughts are this. You're a great saleswoman, and you just did a good commercial for Smith Warren.
Non-paid.
And let me add.
Thanks for
when
clarifying that.
We're coming out of our emergency contract, I fought hard. I had no desire to go to Mr. Warren's office. In fact, I was not going. And I took on the executive director role for about 2.5 months and realized that's the last thing I needed to be doing because I did not want to learn stars. It was a bigger job than I realized. So I went kicking and screaming to his office, and I realized, oh, experience really does matter. So,
Ms. Woodall, I hope you'll be back next year. We're going to improve this. Your commercial just sold us today, and we're grateful for that. And Mr. Warren, you got a full plate on this one, it sounds like. Good luck, and thank you for taking on working together with her, and y'all go get them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm coming with you.
There you go.
Secretary of State.
Good afternoon. I'm Jeff Elrod, the Elections Director in the Secretary of State's office. We have 2 contracts before you today. The first one is with Democracy Live. This is in order to provide an electronic ballot delivery and return system for our military and overseas voters to comply with state and federal law.
Any questions? Thank you, sir.
All right.
Next one.
The next one is with ES&S, that's Election Systems and Software, and they provide the electronic voter registration database that we use to maintain the voter rolls and ensure that voter registration is kept up to date.
I got 3 earfuls on this over the weekend by someone who had an article that walked me through more than I ever knew about this. I'm not sure I fully appreciate this. Mike, you good with this? Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Oh, Chris, you good? I'm sorry, hold on.
What exactly does this deal with? Like, what is the purpose of it?
It's in order to maintain the computerized voter registration list. All of our registrars in all 67 counties use this system to add and update and edit voter registration records as voter registration forms come in. It also helps provide the list that's used at the polling place so that the poll workers can ensure that the voters are registered at that precinct.
Is this part of the replacement for the the ERIC thing?
No, sir.
Okay, so it's not Avid or it's not the.
No, sir. This voter registration database is something that we've used since 2007.
Okay.
There are 2 main vendors, am I correct, that cover most all 50 states, something like that?
Yes, sir.
That's my 3rd ear filled up with that part of this, and they walk through and they threw rocks at both, but there you go. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
The next one, about a 28, was pulled. Am I correct? Oh, not the second one, yes. Please state your name.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Representative England. My name is Melissa Tyndall with the Senate Pro Tem's office. SR Communications we did pull, but we are doing a Sailor Consort for communications to assist with the Majority Leader's office.
Any questions? Mr. England? I have none. Thank you, madam.
Thank you.
Senior Services.
Good afternoon. I'm Ashley Penhale with the Department of Senior Services. We have 1 contract with Acumen Fiscal Agent, and this is to serve as our fiduciary fiscal agent for the Personal Choices Program through our Medicaid waiver program. So this is the RFP from the emergency contract we were here on a few months ago.
Well, we're glad to have you back. We had a couple problems with the forms. You got that figured out now?
I think so.
Okay, good. I was just
Yes, sir.
making sure. We went back and forth a few times. I was just, thank you for working with it. Look, this is a new process. We had some old timers have a problem this month too. So,
Thank you for working with me.
Thanks, Ashley.
Thank you.
Supreme Court.
Good afternoon, Chairman Roberts, Representative England. My name is Ben Dupre. I'm with the Supreme Court. We have an amendment to a contract with Thomson Reuters or West Publishing Corporation, DBA Thomson Reuters. This is specifically to deal with the new Supreme Court and appellate court, so we're representing actually our 3 appellate courts, our new case management system that the legislature has been kind enough to assist us with funding. We realize that the government Azure cloud requires an expertise that we feel we need to contract out with Thomson Reuters, which would be cheaper than hiring the experts to do that ourselves.
How's it working, do you think? Are you encouraged, or is it going to be a big switch?
Well, we've already switched.
Okay.
The big switch has happened. This is to manage our data, keep it secure, and also for any disaster recovery needs. That's one of the great values of this, to manage all that data in the cloud.
Okay. Any questions? Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Transportation.
That's a legal question. Transportation, right? Do we have a question?
Clay McBride with Alabama DOT. We have one contract in front of you from Marina Hodge for real estate appraisals on our highway job.
Any questions? Good to see you this month, sir. Thank you.
See you.
Not holding a thing.
Treasurer.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and Representative England.
Most honorable, welcome.
Young Boozer, State Treasurer. I'm here for a Treasury contract. The Treasurer's Office manages the ABLE account, which is the Achieving a Better Life Experience. We had an initial administrator that operated unsatisfactorily. We made a change about a year and a half, 2 years ago, and we discovered that we needed to add a marketing component to this. So we have signed a contract with Copperwing. They're quite familiar with the state of Alabama and vice versa. And we submit that for approval.
I would love, not today, I would love to get your thoughts. We're trying to work with the CPO on, we have multiple groups that are constantly doing marketing and whatnot. Is there a larger mousetrap that we could contract as the state to work together on this instead of every individual group going and doing a plan? I would just like your counsel on that at some point.
Well, I think our recent work on efficiency in state government maybe should have taken a look at that, and maybe we can do that at a later date. Be happy to do it. Now, when we sent out the RFP, we sent it out to 198 organizations, and we had 16 respond. So
I meant to reach out to you to discuss that because we talk about it every other month in here, and it seems like for efficiency, there should be opportunities there to do that. And if you would noodle on that at some point. And I had a great compliment on you from someone this last week, sir, talking about your.
Would you like to share it to this group?
Well, it was a compliment on the character of the man, and we appreciate your service to our state.
Well, thank you. My parents would be proud.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Veterans Affairs.
Good afternoon. I'm Kim Justice. I'm Executive Director of State Veterans Homes, and the first contract we have is with Williams Blackstock for services to complete the Benny G. Atkins State Veterans Home and Enterprises, time extension only.
We had some serious tennis on this. It wasn't even ping pong on forms. Do you think you guys have it figured out?
A part of that was a DCM issue because we're doing everything electronically and we're not able to populate some areas. So we've voiced that to maybe make it better next time.
Okay, well, I hope we get that one worked out. Any questions on this? Thank you. Next. We don't have two? It was the same thing. Never
Yes,
mind.
sir.
Thank you, Kim.
You're done with me?
No, we're good.
You're good? Okay, great.
No.
We're not good.
We are good. I'd love your name. How about that?
I'm sorry, Beverly Gebhardt, sir. And I would like to thank both Jason and Sunny for their support.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Youth Services.
Good afternoon, Senator Roberts,
Afternoon.
Representative England. I'm Dudley Perry from Youth Services. Sean Stinson is here with me. We have the 6th iteration of the PBS contract. It's a contract with an entity that was created by the OJJDP, the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention, federal entity of the Department of Justice. Data gathering and analysis contract.
Okay. Any questions? Thanks, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for staying to the end. You're the last contract before legal.
ABC Board.
Oh, they're here.
Good afternoon. I'm Bob Martin, ABC Board. This is an amendment to a prior contract. It was litigation. The parties have agreed to a settlement, and this is to extend the time period so they can facilitate that.
Okay. And any questions? Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you.
AG's Office.
Clay Crenshaw with the AG's office. This is a contract with the Consovoy law firm in Virginia. They are assisting us on our reapportionment cases. There are a couple of different cases, both involving allegations involving the state legislative districts and congressional districts. I think we're going to have a trial on the state legislative districts in October of 2024, on the congressional districts probably at the end of 24 and 25, and this law firm is assisting us with legal research and pleadings and that kind of thing.
Can you, the federal one, the CDs is when?
Probably at the end of 24, early 25. We don't have a date yet.
Understand, just
Senator,
guess.
but that is the best guess.
All right. No. Any questions?
Just real quick, and when you're talking, that's Supreme Court, the congressional district? Is there
That'd be in front of that 3-judge panel, again, Representative England.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And then any appeal would go straight to the Supreme Court.
Okay.
That it, sir? Thank you, sir.
And I believe I have corrections.
Okay, I didn't know who was going to handle that.
Yes, sir, I am. We have a legal services contract with Burt Jordan in this case involving Parrish versus Dunn here in the Middle District. I think there are about 5 or 6 different defendants. And I believe Mr. Jordan is already representing as a lieutenant waiver in this case, so he's continuing that representation.
Any questions? Okay.
And the next is Mr. Pygott with Webster Henry, same case. He's representing a separate.
No questions there?
Yes, sir.
Bottom of page 35 or 35.
Yes, sir. And that's Steve Herndon. That's a different case up in the northern district. He actually is continuing his representation.
No questions.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Early Childhood Education.
Good afternoon, Amanda Sanford again with Early Childhood Education. We have a new legal services contract for you with Bob, Matthews, and Novak to work with attorney Sydney Brassfield. This is a non-litigation contract for services that include reviewing MOUs for first-class pre-K grantees, federal grants, personnel matters, and any other confidential areas that require counsel. This is a 2-year contract at a rate of $195 an hour with a max of $50,000, and this firm is in compliance with Executive Order 726.
We did have some cover sheet and document issues
Yes,
We
we'll
got 'em
make sure
straight.
that that does
We'd
not
love
happen
to not
again.
have to play tennis on that again.
Sure thing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ethics Commission.
Good afternoon. Tom Albritton with the Ethics Commission. We have before you a legal services contract to hire Wilson Green to represent one of our employees. Our office and the AG's office are both conflicted.
Any questions? Thanks, Tom.
Thank you very much.
Governor's Office.
Good afternoon, Zach Wilson with the Governor's Office. We have a contract renewal with Maynard Nexon to defend the COVID-19 liability protections issued by the governor and then later codified by the legislature.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Human Resources.
Good afternoon, Senator and Representative England. My name is Felicia Brooks. I'm the General Counsel for DHR, and we have 3 legal contracts. 2 of them are standard contracts for services, direct services to our counties, and one of them is a litigation case in which there's a conflict, so we need an outside counsel.
Any questions on first, second, or third? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Pharmacy Board.
Good afternoon. I'm Scott Daniel with the Board of Pharmacy. We have one legal contract today for legal services for Ms. Jennifer Newman.
I have lots of questions.
I'm sure you do. You may have seen me get out and blow up the phone, but this is not a $1 million contract, as is listed. The contract is for not to exceed $550,000. It's a 2-year contract at a $190 an hour rate.
I was like, we've had that $1 million since January of 22. So started 10 January 22. New cap of $1 million. Are you able to enlighten us here in public on this, or?
So we had 2 attorneys. We've lost one. We came back just a couple of months ago because we were afraid we were going to exceed the cap amount for the one attorney we have. That was approved, took it to $450. So this renewal is an increase to cap of maximum $550,000 for 2 years.
Because this, as I'm looking back, it was originally 400, then it went to 450, now it's $1 million.
It's I knew this was going to.
I didn't do it.
No, I know,
Right.
I didn't either.
We didn't do it on this dice, but somebody in your world did it, not us.
I don't know.
And it's confused us.
There is an increase from 450 to 550 for 2 years, but I'm not sure what the thought process was on that cover sheet.
Let me consult with my.
Absolutely.
On the advice of my counsel over here for just a handshake, he suggests that we hold this. If you can get what this is and get back to us on this, we would be most grateful. We just have a lot of questions, and
sure,
and it wasn't just us. This was on some other questions that we got too. So that would be great.
So you just want some answers as to the.
You don't think it's right. We're confused and don't see how it's right. Bring us the answers to that, please, sir. Or send them to Sonny, and we'll get it. It's just confusing to us.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I'll get that done.
Scott, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Transportation.
Clay McBrown with AlDOT. This is a legal contract with Virgil C. Ford for additional legal services for the Baldwin Bridge Company reverse condemnation lawsuit.
The number of questions that I got on this, I'm not going to repeat them here, but I did get one simple question. How much have we spent on this so far? That was a question I got. If you want to shoot it to me.
I'll have to.
Yeah, that was, a friend of yours asked me to ask you that question.
I figured who it was, yeah.
So we would like to know.
All right, I'll get it done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm approving it, but just shoot us that if you would, please, sir. Thanks, Clay. Ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up. And there's something else for the good of the order. Seeing none, we're adjourned. Thank you very much. Look forward to seeing you back first Thursday in January 2024. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.